This video is to start the geometric optics notes. It's going to be right at 15 minutes, hopefully a little bit short or a little bit long, and then we will finish up the rest in class. So you need to read the first page here. So you might want to pause the video and read, and then you can kind of just follow along. But I'm going to go over these highlighted portions. So it says here in the first highlighted portion, our eyes and brain system is convinced that light rays always travel in straight lines. So if you look at this picture down here with our object and image, you can see that the light wave is traveling, reflecting off the mirror, and then coming into your eyes, and you're seeing that image. Well, for us, our brain is telling us that they're traveling in straight lines, meaning that this wave that comes into your eyes think that it came from some place and traveled in a straight line into your eye. So it says that light rays seem to be coming from objects that are on the other side of the mirror, which is that dashed blue line that I just drew back there. Our next highlighted thing, it says a ray from the top and a ray from the bottom. When you're looking at these ray diagrams, realize that you're going to draw rays from the top and the bottom of objects, sometimes only from the top of the object, but of course light is coming from every point of the object. If this is some object that we're looking at, light is coming from all sorts of places and reflecting off of the mirror into our eyes, right? But we're not going to focus on those in our ray diagrams. We're just going to focus on lines that are coming from the, like I said, mostly the top of the object. Occasionally the bottom is shown in some pictures. So let's see. Next part, it says our brain ray traces the reflected rays back behind the mirror, and we call these back rays. So the light is coming here, it's reflecting, and our back ray tracing is this process of kind of trying to account for what our brain thinks that it's seen. So our next one, right, we have the ray coming in, it reflects, so our back ray tracing, so we're going backwards from the ray that was reflected, not the incident light, but the reflected light. So our back ray tracing is from the reflected light, or if it's a lens, it's going to be the refracted light. Okay, the image is formed in our brain on the opposite side of the mirror. It is the same size and the same distance from the mirror, and we discovered that in the lab. And this is all for a flat mirror. It says the image is called a virtual image, and the reason why it's called a virtual image is because it's made by phantom rays and no real light is traveling there. So if this is what our brain is telling us that we see, because that image is these imaginary back ray tracing lines, right? Those aren't actually light rays. Because those are not actual light rays, we are said to be viewing a virtual image, or it's making a virtual image. It also says that the image is erect or upright. What that's telling you is, and these are all things that we're going to have to deal with when we're seeing objects through lenses and mirrors, that we're going to have to decide, is it a virtual image or is it a real image? Is it a rect image or is it an image that's upside down? So because our image appears to be the same as our object, then it is an erect or an upright image. Is it magnified? Because they're the exact same height, they're not magnified. If it was magnified, the image would look bigger, or it could possibly look smaller, and obviously it was shrunken down. And then we said, again, it was a virtual image. So we are going to apply all of this, we are going to apply all of this onto curved surfaces, and we're going to focus on mirrors primarily with the first part of these notes. So spherical mirrors, we are going to be dealing with curved surfaces. For us, we're going to have a constant radius. There's obviously mirrors out there or surfaces that don't have to have a constant radius. All of ours will. And we are going to deal specifically with concave and convex mirrors. So if this is the reflecting side over here, right, this is the convex mirror, and if this is the reflecting side over here, then it's said to be a concave mirror. And you've got to be able to keep those two straight. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. You are going to make these ray diagrams, and through ray diagrams, you are going to predict whether the image is real, virtual, upright, whether it's magnified or not, so all sorts of stuff. So just looking, kind of getting some vocabulary here for our pictures. We have C on our picture is the center of curvature, basically meaning if this was a circle, right, this would be the center of our circle, right? It's the center of the curvature. Okay, the principal axis. The principal axis is a line that goes through the center of the curvature to the center of the mirror. And these will almost always be drawn for you, right? It's talking about this line here. F is the principal focus. It is called the focal point, or sometimes simply the focus. The focal length is the distance from the principal focus to the center of the mirror. Right? And it is equal to 1/2 the radius. Basically what that's saying, right, is this distance is 1/2 of this distance. Right? The focal point is 1/2 of the radius of curvature. Okay, we have our first equation that's given to us on the formula sheet, I believe. Oh no. That's just looking at a relationship, right? The focus is 1/2 of the radius, and the radius is the center of curvature, right? So our focal point, or our focus, or the principal focus, is 1/2 of the radius, or 1/2 of the center of curvature. Okay, so let's move on here. Rules for ray reflection, right? We're dealing with mirrors, which means we are dealing with reflected light, not refracted light. So, rule 1. Rays that enter the mirror parallel to the principal axis are reflected off the mirror through the principal axis. So what is that exactly saying? So I'm going to follow along with this diagram. Notice that all of these rays start at the object, at the top of the object, and that's what we're going to do for our ray diagrams. So, focusing on rule 1, rays that enter the mirror parallel to the principal axis. Remember, this here is the principal axis. So if I want a ray parallel to the principal axis, they're saying that it's ray number 1. So ray number 1 is following with that rule, right? Light is reflecting off of this object. It's coming off, it's going to hit our mirrored surface, and it's going to reflect off the mirror. It says that it's reflected off the mirror through the principal focus. Remember, the F is the focus. So this light reflects and goes through this principal focus, which is this point right here. The next one, if I can get rid of that blue line there. Rule number 2, rays that pass through or appear to originate from the principal focus are reflected parallel to the principal focus. So let's see here, what color? I'll use blue this time. So that is rule number 2, right? So it's line number 2. So what they're saying is this light that's coming off only the top of the object is what we're focused, right? Rays of light are coming off of every part of this object. We're just focusing on the ones off the top. So when rays from the top of the object go through the focus and they hit the mirror, when they're reflected, they are going to be reflected parallel to the principal axis. So we have our reflected light. And number 3, and occasionally you won't have to draw all 3 of the, actually most of the time you won't have to draw all 3 rays. You really only need to draw 2 of them. But number 3, rays that pass through the center of curvature, right? That is, let's see if I can get a different color pen. All I have is this light pink. There's our center of curvature. So light that passes through that, so that's our ray 3. It's going to come through our center of curvature. When it hits the mirror, it's going to reflect back through the center of curvature. So our light is going to take the exact same pathway it came in on, and now it's going out and coming in the same pathway. So what happens is you have a point where all of those reflected rays, and you're always concerned about the reflected rays, not the incident rays. You're concerned with where those are formed, and where all 3 of those pass each other, which, if we're looking, right, where do all 3 lines intersect? They intersect right here. And what that tells us is that this here is going to be the image that our brain sees. So if you're looking at it and you had to go through all those things, right? This image is, right? It's upside down. It's smaller, right? It's only this tall when this image is this tall. So it's upside down. You're going to see what you would actually see would be the image would look upside, or the object would look upside down to you if you were looking in the mirror. It's smaller than the object actually is. And what else? It is a real image because light waves are actually traveling to that location, so it's considered a real image. Just to make sure everyone's on the same page here of what's happening. This is the object that we're looking at, right? And our eye is somewhere looking through the mirror, right? So we're looking at the mirror and seeing this image form, and that's the image that we would see. Okay, let's see. We're going to try to get through this next example, and then we'll stop the video. So, image formation. Let's look at a typical image formed by a concave spherical mirror. So the object is located between the center of curvature and the principal focus. And this is what's going to happen is there's a lot of things to memorize. You're going to have to remember, what happens if the image is between the center of curvature and the focus? What happens if it's at the focus? What happens if it's in front of the focus? And you're going to have to memorize these things or be able to or otherwise you're going to have to take the time to draw the ray diagrams to figure out the answer. So, the object has a humongous number of rays reflecting off it in all directions. We're only interested in the ones that follow our rules, which is off of the top of the object. So in our first image, right, so the first ray we see, we look at is one coming off the top of the object parallel to the principal axis, and it's reflected off the mirror through the focal point. So that was our rule 1, right? We have this blue line. Our next one, right, the next ray that we draw is one that goes through the principal focus. It's reflected off the mirror parallel to the principal axis. And so you have these 2 lines that are drawn. And it says, note, ray 3 is not present because it would not hit the mirror. Meaning, if I was to draw the third ray, right, I have to go from the top of the object through the center of curvature. Well, it never hits the mirror. So it's not needed in the ray diagram because it's not reflecting off of the mirror in order to show our image. So what we end up with, right, is these two rays fix the image. The top of the object, the arrowhead, is located where the 2 rays intersect, and the bottom of the object is fixed to the principal axis. So what they're saying is that the top of the object is located where the rays intersect. That's this location. That is the top of the object. And so that means, sorry, this timer's going off telling me to stop making this video. So that means this is the top of the object. The bottom of the object is where the principal axis forms, and so that's the image that's going to be formed. Okay, so our bottom is attached to the principal axis. So looking at it, it is a real image, right? Because light rays are actually traveling to that location. It's not back ray tracing. It's inverted. As you can see, the object is upside down, right? The top of the object is on the bottom now. And for this specific example, the distance from the image to the mirror to the image to the mirror center is greater than the object distance, and also the image is magnified. So you've got 3 or 4 things that we are talking about when we're looking at this image, right? It's further away from the mirror than the object is. It's inverted, right? It's upside down. It's magnified because it's taller than this image. And it's real because light rays actually travel to that location. So this video was 16.5 minutes. I apologize. Make sure you go to msocrative.com, room 88083, and take the quiz so that I know you watched the video.